welcome to everyone joining us for the Q&A on My Thoughts Are Silent. My name is Rashid Bailey. I'm one of the programmers here at Raindance, and I'm joined by the director and co-writer Antonia Lukic. The Q&A will last approximately 20 minutes. So for the first half, I'll be asking questions and then we will take questions from the audience, okay? If you do want to ask a question, please write them in the Q&A section and not in the chat box, thank you. So, Antonio,
Rashid, thank you for your super slow English. It's amazingly understandable for me.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So I wanted to start by, I'm aware that the film's based on a true story, and one of your main references is the film called Broken Flowers. So what was it about these stories that intrigued you initially?
Actually, it's a story of my friend. He unfortunately was working as a sound recordist. He was a freelancer, a guy without a normal job, and once he got a real order to record sounds of animals of Ukrainian. Yes, and he get his father. They went to this strange trip, and when he come back to Kiev, he just tell me those episodes, like with the episode with parrot. It's a real scene actually was in a live episode with cows, with pigs, and so on. So I think that it might be a great like basement for developing my script further, you know. But I was understand that it's difficult to make a good film just basing on a comedy line, and line with animals it's kind of comedy. So I used to add to the story my own personal touch with mom. Sorry, my little kid. Come again. Take a look. Yeah.
So why did you decide to change the character to a mom rather than a father?
Because you know, when I was a student, I've already made some films about men, you know, and that team was kind of. I wasn't worried about this, and story with mom is a very worrying story for me because it's happening in real life. You know, I haven't got this storyline with my mom, but once I've just sit down and try to write everything very bad that I've been told to my mom in my life. It become like 17 pages in Microsoft Word, and it become a part of this film, like a single storyline.
Yeah, because the film does center on this relationship between mother and son and their conflicting expectations of one another. So why do you think there was this mindset in the character that in order for him to be independent and make his own decisions, he feels like he needs to move far away?
Because he's a typical representative of Ukrainian youth today. He tried to escape from Ukrainian reality and find out where some place where he will live a normal life as he think. And he thinks that in Canada it's possible because he's big guy and Canada is a big country, so maybe that's why he thinks that if he moves there it will be much more easier to live. And the story in the main sense, it's a story about understanding what is normal in our life and what is not, because mom try to give him this mindset of normal living, but she can't explain what this means actually.
Okay, I mean, we also get the impression that he wants her to find love or someone to look after her as she gets older, probably so he doesn't have to. Was that something you found while developing the film, this feeling of being obligated to look after your family, especially if they're lonely?
Yes, because, you know, in Ukraine, not full families, but families with a single mom or with single dad is a normal situation, and it's not normal here when you have two parents. It's like a very strange thing. in 90s it was a hard time here in Ukraine, and a lot of young guys like lost their dads because of hard times. Some strong dads died, some smart dads go to Israel, and or to Canada, and left like others. So that's why we have a lot of a lot of sorry for my English, a lot of guys, a lot of uh, little men, sorry, who was raised by a single mom. So that's why we have such a relationship here, and it was a very interesting time of developing this script, because I was developing my script even during editing, and it's a big problem when your editor become your co-script writer, because he just reduce great episodes. And I've been even continue developing script while we was already selected to Karlovy Vary Film Festival, because we've been selected with a rough cut and so on and so on, but film was actually in developing. So it's a very big story for me, like 3 years of my life, actually. Yes, and I also had a dream to have a screening in UK, because I wanted to invite Beckham family to this screening. Yeah, I think when Victoria will hear this church choir, she probably will cry.
I could tell you were a big sports fan because you integrated football players into the film. Was there you're a Spurs fan. Okay, I'm an Arsenal fan.
Oops. So
Was there
maybe
any
we can finish this conversation right now.
Was there any meaning behind putting Mesut Ozil in her phone? What
Yeah,
was the meaning behind that?
because Mesut Ozil have very like uh, unique face, so he might become like every man. When you think about his face, maybe you can imagine an Italian man, a Turkish man, Deutschman, like someone. And when I imagine this bad guy Bernardo, I think that he will need this Mesut Ozil's face of a villain. Yeah.
And the theme of independence is very focal. Why was referencing the Battle of Mohawks important in the beginning scene, and how did that tie into the plot?
Tying to the plot, you ask, yeah?
Yes.
It's have no straight connection with plot. It's just like a prologue, like epigraph of the film that set the main question of the story. Do we have such a thing like a miracle in our life? So this is like a key question to understand the whole religious line in the movie. And you can answer just by your own. What is miracle to you? Because for me, it was actually a miracle that feather from the jacket. It was kind of a thing that someone from above said something to my hero, and exploring the exploring the things of connection between us and God. It's like the main and the most interesting thing to explore in cinema, maybe, because every single director explores this connection by his own. For me, speaking with God, sorry for this big words, but for me it's about feathers. It's about very small things, for someone like Andrei Tarkovsky, it's the language of uh, I don't know, of snow, of ruined churches, and something very big. Yes, and exploring this language, it's a very interesting thing, I guess, because real magic, real miracles are set in relationships between two people, because we have very strange connection with our very close relatives.
And there are numerous visual gags packed into this film, particularly about Vadim's height. In terms of the casting process, I understand that the actor who plays him is actually your friend. and isn't actually a professional actor.
Yeah,
Did you always have him in mind, or was his height a big factor?
yes, he's my friend, and he's a person who just can't say no. It's very easy to manipulate him, and that's why I asked him to play this role. It's very easy and comfort to work with such a guy who just do everything what you ask. And he's non-professional actor, and his tallness, it's not my first film with him. His tallness become a big sense for me, because every director tried to retranslate his own feeling of the world in some way, and my feeling of this world is uncomfortable feeling, and guy who is very tall, he just cannot fit in any frame, like a social, moral, and so on and so on. And it's just my retranslation of uncomfortableness of a single freelancer to the rest of the world. It's like a metaphor, like think.
And the
Sorry, again.
chemistry between the actors is beautiful. How did you nurture that relationship, and how did you challenge them?
You mean how did I set the relations between actors?
So the chemistry between them is so good, you know, they bounce off of each other. And I know the actress who plays the mother is actually quite famous. So there's this difference in skill level. So how did you nurture
It's very
that relationship?
interesting, because yes, Irma Vitovska, she's a very famous actress here in Ukraine. She is a professional actress, and I split people who play in cinema to artists and to actors, because artists, they just play themselves in this film, and actors are trying to play someone else. They play people who they don't know even, but they try to feel, empathize the emotions of these people who they play. Yes, so Andrei is a classic artist. He wasn't play anything. He just play himself. And Irma was playing a woman like my mom.
Okay. So we've got a question from the audience. Was it
That's
easy
amazing.
to make a debut film in Ukraine?
Actually, yes, Ukraine is probably the best country to make a debut film, because it was quite easy to get financing to this film. We have a huge system of support by government. You just go to pitching, to competition of the films, to pitching, yes, and take financing, and the rest is just your work. I say always that we have a lot of good people in our industry, but not a lot of good professionals, maybe. But for the directors, uh, it's a lot of mm, chances to make a debut film in Ukraine. Yes, and people here very friendly set to the cinema when you go somewhere, not in Kiev. In Kiev, in capital, people hate cinema, and people who work in cinema. When you make film in Kiev, someone just can drop the stones to your group from the balcony. Yeah, it was at my TV series. But when you go somewhere west, for example, to small cities, people usually help you a lot. Maybe in London, the same story, because people are tired of the cameras, tired of everything like this.
Okay, is it everything okay now?
You mean where?
Oh no, the camera paused for a second. Okay,
It because of my emotions.
okay. So music is obviously very integral to the film, and we live in a time now where it can ruin someone's day even if they left their headphones at home, you know. So how important would it be, would you say it is to disconnect and actually take in the outside world sonically like Vidim? Because he listens more to his surroundings and stuff.
Uh, you mean the question about music? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So
Uh,
I'm saying, how important would you say it is to step back and take in your surroundings, like Vadim, where he's listening to everything except for his mom, you know?
Yes, listening to everything except of his mom. Mom is actually like a noise for him, just a thing that spoils his work. And it's also a true story of our lives, because when we chasing something very important for us, we just lost the connection with the things are real important, like our parents wanted to say to us. Uh, Something like this. Yeah, and Vadim is a guy who really chasing the duck, like a mythical bird, which is this bird is actually Vadim, because we painted this bird from him. Yes, so he's trying to chase his own voice, and at the end of the film is very flexible thing to understand, because everything that he was chasing about was every time with him in some way. And also have a beautiful version of the end of the film that Vadim died. He died in this um, mud. Sorry. Uh, yes, and the rest is just his dream, like the scene with military forces. It's very strange scene. Like he's trying to go somewhere else to heaven, and so on and so on. Yeah, and music. You asking also about music in this film? Yes.
Yes, because it's quite important. Obviously, there's
Yes.
music that takes you back to the
He
90s, 80s.
Yeah, it's really nostalgic music, but we have a very concrete. Sorry, not concrete. It's not this word. We have a very understandable key for taking music, because Vadim is recording voices for the video game. So we try to take music just from that game, and it was retro wave music, synth wave music, and even very vulgar American trap by Dylan Ross, which is my friend since we've worked.
And what have you noticed in relation to how different audiences around the world are viewing the characters? Do you find that they tend to side with one more than the other?
Yes, Rashid, it's amazingly interesting question, and thank you for this, because it was a big and great, interesting challenge for me to explore the world while listening to audience reaction to this film. And it was kind of my dream to listen to the English audience. How English audience will react, because I'm a big fan of an English humor in some way. Mike Lee, maybe he's one of my favorite directors. Secrets and Lies film. You heard about
I'm
this?
not, no, sorry.
Secrets and Lies. It's like the main English film ever.
Oh, okay, yeah, go on. Continue, yeah, no.
Yeah, so I was amazingly curious about listening to English audience, but I've been listening to a lot of audiences, and in the western part of the world, people every time empathize to main hero, to Vadim, and mom was the thing that irritates everyone in the western part. And here in Ukraine, people just hate Vadim, but everyone really, really loves mom. And we've think about this, why the situation of the empathy is so polarized, and it's very interesting answer to this, because we live very different lives actually, and Western society is much more younger in their mindset. Yes.
It's true. We do have one more question from the audience. The humor of the film is very specific, awkward and quirky. Were you inspired by certain types of films, directors with similar sensitivity and humor? If so, who?
I had a lot of inspiration from maybe Aki Kaurismäki, the Finnish Finland classic. A lot of inspiration of Mike Lee, English director. A lot of inspiration from Jim Jarmusch, Coen brothers, as well. Elias Suleiman, the Palestinian director, also. I'm a big fan of cringe humor and uncomfortable humor. Yes, and any uncomfortable comedy I really like. And there are a lot of comedies like this.
And just to sort of wrap this up, the question that comes out of the film is, what does it mean to live a normal life? And what would you say to those people who are contemplating this question on a daily basis?
Actually, this film made a big correction in my mind as well, because uh, I, I was like Vadim, and when I write my script, my inner voice was the voice of Vadim, and when I was finishing the editing of the film, my inner voice became a voice of a mom. Something inside me just uh, yells and scream to me like, "Start, please start, live normal life." And as you can see, in the beginning of the our Q&A, I become a parent. I have a son now, and
Yeah.
in some way I've started to live this normal life. I become much more fat, and
And you support Tottenham, so
yeah, I support Tottenham also. It's because of the film In Brugge, in Bruges, of Martin McDonagh.
yes, yeah,
There
okay.
were a great joke about Tottenham, and that's why I really like this team.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Antonio, and thank you to the
I
audience
do my
for
best
joining
in
the
English.
Q&A.
I do my best.
No,
Thank you,
you were
Rashid.
great. You were great. Don't worry.
Yeah, thank you
Enjoy the
for
rest of your night.
thank you for very thoughtful questions. Yeah, I like them.
No worries. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.